Hey, welcome to the briefing. What I'm going to cover with you today is this. Before the tool cart steals the changeover, capture the cleanup issue. I want you to picture the line in the middle of a changeover, not before it starts, not after the first good unit is approved, right in the middle of it. The last run ended late. The next run matters. The customer critical order is waiting. Quality is watching for the first good unit. The line lead is moving fast. Operators are cleaning, swapping parts, checking the setup sheet, staging packaging material, and trying to get the line ready without giving up more time. And then the tool cart acts up. A fixture is not where it should be. A cleaning tool is not staged where the setup sheet says it belongs. The shadow board shows an old layout. The gauge is available, but it is sitting on a bench instead of the cart. Nobody has to make this dramatic. That is real friction. That is real waste. That is real damage to changeover discipline. And now comes the leadership test. Because the team wants to fix it right now. They want to open the drawers, move the tools, relabel the cart, update the shadow board, pull in maintenance, ask quality where the gauge belongs, and stop repeating the same nonsense every changeover. I get that. I respect that. The issue is real. The frustration is earned. The team is not wrong to raise it. But the line is still in changeover. The clock is still moving. The first good unit has not been confirmed. The customer critical run has not started. The main effort is still exposed. So the question is not, does the tool cart matter? Of course it matters. The question is, does it deserve to take over the active changeover right now? That is where leaders lose the thread, not because they are lazy, not because they do not care. They lose it because a real issue appears at the wrong time and nobody has the command discipline to say, capture it, own it, bring it back, but do not let it steal the run. That is what this briefing is about. The tool is identify and postpone. It sits inside deepen, decision execution, and problem navigation. Deepen is about moving through problems with the right kind of action instead of treating every problem the same way. Some problems need stabilization, some need intervention, some need a different route, some need analysis, some need precise correction, and some problems need controlled deferral. Controlled deferral. Hold that phrase. Not ignoring, not bearing, not pretending, not saying we are too busy, so forget it. Controlled deferral means the leader sees the issue, respects the issue, names the consequence, protects the current objective, assigns ownership, sets a return point, and defines the trigger that brings the issue forward if the timing changes. That is not soft leadership. That is command discipline. Because weak leaders do one of two things here. They either chase every real issue the second it appears, or they say later and let later die in the air. Both fail. Chasing the issue steals the objective. Vague postponement loses the issue. Identify and postpone is the middle path with teeth in it. Do not ignore it. Do not chase it. Bring it back on purpose. That is the work. And let's put this on the floor where it belongs. Renee is a production supervisor at a consumer goods packaging plant. Line 4 is changing from a small format package to a larger multi-pack run. The multi-pack order is customer critical. The shipment window is tight and the previous run ended late. The changeover started behind schedule, so the team does not have much room for drift. This is not a slow cleanup window. This is not a casual improvement event. This is active production recovery. Operators are changing guides, cleaning contact points, staging film, confirming cartons, checking the setup sheet, and preparing the line for release. Quality is close because the first good unit has to be confirmed before the run is released. Maintenance is nearby because the prior run had a minor feed adjustment issue. Everyone has a reason to be there. Everyone has a piece of the pressure. The objective is clear. Finish the changeover, complete setup, confirm the first good unit, release the line cleanly, and protect the customer critical run. That is the main effort. Say it clean, because if the main effort is not named, every side issue can sound like the priority, and then the cart creates the problem. The line lead reaches for a fixture that should be in the top drawer. It is not there. One operator finds it in a lower drawer with a different change part. Another operator checks the setup sheet and realizes the cleaning tool listed there is not staged on the cart. The shadow board still shows an old outline from a previous setup pattern. The gauge is available, but it is not in the expected cart location. Now the room changes. The line lead is frustrated. One operator says, "This is why every changeover drags." Maintenance says the fixture has been getting moved around for weeks. Quality says the gauge location should be clarified before the next run. Someone says, "While we are here, let's just fix the cart." There it is, that phrase, "while we are here." On the surface, that sounds practical, but during a live changeover, "while we are here" can become the door that lets side work walk in and take over the room. While we are here, let's relabel the drawers. While we are here, let's rebuild the shadow board. While we are here, let's change the cart layout. While we are here, let's ask maintenance who moved the fixture. While we are here, let's update the setup sheet. And now the changeover is not the changeover anymore. It is a tool cart argument with a late run waiting behind it. No, stop that. Control it. The issue is real. The timing is wrong. That is the moment a leader has to put the rails back under the work. Not with a speech, not with a lecture, with a decision. The team needs to hear that the issue is being respected and the run is still being protected. That is the balance. If the leader sounds dismissive, the team shuts down. If the leader sounds uncertain, the room keeps drifting. If the leader sounds clear, the team can move. This is the point where a supervisor has to be honest with the team and hard on the sequence. That does not mean rude. That does not mean dismissive. It means clear. Renee cannot pretend the tool cart is fine. It is not fine. The cart does not match the setup condition. Point of view storage is weak. The setup sheet and the physical layout are not aligned. Operators are wasting motion. The line lead is carrying friction that should have been removed. The issue deserves correction, but it does not automatically deserve command of the current window. That is the misread. The team mistakes visibility for priority. The issue is loud because it is right in front of them. It is annoying because it just costs time. It is easy to talk about because everyone can point to the cart and say, "There." That is the problem. The cart gives the frustration a target. The active changeover is harder. It requires the team to stay in sequence. It requires discipline. It requires them to finish the setup, stage what is needed, confirm the first good unit, and recover the line before the run loses more time. A side issue can feel more satisfying than the main effort because the side issue is concrete. Open the drawer, move the tool, change the label, fix the board, done. That feels good. But leadership is not about doing the thing that feels concrete. Leadership is about protecting the objective that matters most in that window. Right now, the objective is not a perfect cart. Right now, the objective is a controlled changeover and a clean release. That is the read. I have learned to respect this kind of problem. It sounds small until you watch it steal an hour. It sounds like a minor cleanup item until the first good unit is late. Quality's waiting, the schedule is slipping, and everyone is still talking about who owns the cart. That is how it happens. Not with one big bad decision, with a series of reasonable side moves that were never tested against the objective. I have seen leaders chase these issues because they want the team to know they care. That instinct comes from a good place. A leader does not want to look like they are tolerating bad standards. A leader does not want operators thinking, "We raise problems and nothing happens." A leader does not want to be the person who says, "Keep moving," while the floor absorbs friction. But hear me clearly. Caring is not the same as chasing. Caring means you control the issue so it gets fixed in the right window. Chasing means you let frustration set priority. That difference matters. Renee needs to say something simple and definite. The cart issue is real. We are not solving the whole cart right now. The current objective is to finish this changeover, confirm the first good unit, and protect this run. That is command voice without drama. It validates the issue. It protects the objective. It stops the drift. Then she adds the control. Line lead owns the immediate workaround. Process owner owns the cart cleanup. We return to it after the run or at the next setup improvement window. If another missing tool, fixture, gauge, or setup item blocks this active changeover, we bring it forward immediately. That is identify and postpone in human words. The issue is captured. The main effort stays intact. Ownership is clear. The return point is real. The trigger is known. No hand waving. No fake later, no pretending the issue does not matter, just control. There's a practical rhythm to this. Renee does not need to freeze the line to prove she is in control. She tells the line lead to keep the changeover moving with the found fixture. She tells the operator to stage the cleaning tool for this run, not rebuild the cart. She asks quality to confirm the gauge location for the current release only. She tells maintenance, good note, hold the storage argument for the return window. Then she points back to the run. That is the tone. Not soft, not theatrical, just enough command to keep the line from wandering. That kind of direction matters because the floor takes its cue from the leader's posture. If the leader gets fascinated by the side issue, the team follows. If the leader dismisses the side issue, the team stops trusting the leader's care for the work. If the leader captures it with confidence, the room settles. People know what matters now, what matters later, and what will bring later forward. That is snap in the system. The team does not need more noise. It needs a clean priority call that survives the pressure of the moment. Keep the changeover alive. Keep the issue visible. Do not confuse those two jobs. That is the part people remember after the shift, not a long explanation, not a lecture about standards. A clean call that says the run still owns the window and the cleanup has not been allowed to disappear. That is enough to move. That is enough to hold control. No confusion, no drift, no escape. Now inspect where the failure actually forms. It does not form when the fixture is in the wrong drawer. That is a problem, but it is not yet the full leadership failure. It does not form when the cleaning tool is missing from the cart. That is a setup issue, but the team can still recover. It does not form when the shadow board is outdated. That is a standard work issue, but it may not need to take over the active run window. The leadership failure forms when the side issue becomes the new objective without a priority test. That is the failure point. The team shifts from release the line to fix the cart. The conversation shifts from what do we need to complete this changeover to who owns this mess. The supervisor shifts from protecting the run to managing the frustration. The room shifts from sequence to debate. That is when control starts leaking out of the floor. And listen, this is not because the team is bad. A lot of teams fall into this because they care about the work. Operators do not want to fight the same cart every shift. Line leads do not want to waste time hunting fixtures. Quality does not want gauges floating around. Maintenance does not want change parts stored randomly. The frustration is valid, but valid frustration is still not the priority test. The priority test is this. Does the issue require action before the current objective is protected? In Renee's case, the missing fixture has been found, the cleaning tool can be staged, the gauge can be brought to the line, the cart issue needs correction, but the line can still recover. That means the cart issue gets captured, not crowned. It gets named. It does not get control of the room, and that is the phrase captured, not crowned. Look at the consequence if Renee chases the cleanup now. The immediate cost is lost change over time. The team stops recovering the line and starts reorganizing the cart. The second cost is delayed release. Quality waits longer for the first good unit. The third cost is schedule pressure. The customer critical run starts later. The fourth cost is overtime or shipment risk because the plant now has to recover time it spent on a cleanup project inside the changeover window. The deeper cost is priority confusion. The team learns that any visible issue can take over the current objective if enough people are frustrated by it. That is dangerous. Once a team learns that visibility equals priority, every live operation becomes vulnerable to side work. A changeover becomes a cleanup event. A quality recovery becomes a documentation debate. A schedule recovery becomes a planning argument. A customer critical run becomes a meeting with a conveyor in the background. No, that is not operating discipline. But do not swing too far the other way. If Renee ignores the tool cart issue, the cost shows up later. The same fixture search happens next changeover. The same cleaning tool is missing. The same shadow board creates doubt. The setup sheet loses authority because the floor no longer matches the standard. Operators stop trusting point-of-use storage. The line lead becomes more cynical. The team learns that raising friction does not matter unless the line is already failing. That is not operating discipline either. Chasing it now damages the current objective. Ignoring it completely damages future execution. Identify and postpone protects both. That is why the tool matters. Now be careful with this tool. Do not use it as a fancy way to avoid ownership. That is weak. If the issue is urgent, it may not be identify and postpone. If the missing fixture cannot be found and the changeover cannot continue, the issue is moved into the current objective. If the gauge location creates immediate quality risk for this release, it may need action now. If the cart problem blocks the first good unit, postponement may no longer hold. This tool is not for urgent damage. It is not for active blockage. It is not for problems that will get worse if delayed. It is for a real issue that appears during an active effort, matters enough to capture, but does not deserve to take the main effort away from the objective right now. That is a narrow standard. Good. It should be. The issue has to be safe to delay with control, not safe to forget. Safe to delay with control. That means Renee must know the current objective, the issue, the consequence, if ignored. The consequence, if chased now, the owner, the return point, and the trigger. She does not have to stop the floor and run a full classroom process. She has to be clear enough that the issue survives the pressure of the moment. Because pressure eats vague promises. We will handle it later is not enough. Later when? Owned by whom? What happens if it blocks again? Where does it get recorded? Who confirms it comes back? If those answers are missing, it is not postponed. It is lost. And a lost issue comes back, usually at the worst time. There's also a human side to this, and this matters because command voice without human judgment turns into noise. Operators are not wrong for being frustrated by a bad cart. The line lead is not wrong for wanting it fixed. Maintenance is not wrong for calling out repeated fixture movement. Quality is not wrong for wanting the gauge location clarified. They are seeing real friction. The supervisor's job is not to shut them down. The supervisor's job is to give the issue a place to go. That is how you protect trust. You do not say stop complaining. You do not say we do not have time and then let the issue disappear. You say good catch, that is real. Here is where it goes. Here is who owns it. Here is when it comes back, and here is what would make it urgent. That is command with respect, short, clear, human. The team does not need a speech. The team needs a decision it can trust. And if Renee follows through later, the tool becomes credible. The next time she says we are capturing this and returning to it, the team believes her. If she does not follow through, the tool dies. Simple as that. You cannot build priority discipline on empty promises. Postpone does not mean forgotten. Say it, then prove it. This is where the bigger direct action system gives the tool support without taking over the episode. CSA helps Renee read what is actually happening before she reacts. If her read is too narrow, she sees only the messy cart and starts fixing the cart. If her read is too broad and unfocused, she sees every related issue and gets scattered. The clean read holds the whole picture. Active changeover, customer critical run, first good unit requirement, operator frustration, setup standard gap, point of view storage weakness, and recovery window. That clean read feeds Deepen. Deepen helps her choose the right movement through the problem. This is not strategic evasion because she is not steering around a predictable trap before it activates. This is not tactical resolution unless the cart is actively blocking the changeover. This is not in-depth analysis unless the issue is too unclear to defer responsibly. This is identify and postpone because a real side issue appears during an active objective and needs controlled deferral. Pro sharpens the risk. If Renee chases the cart now, she risks the run, the schedule, and the customer shipment. If she ignores the cart completely, she risks operator trust, future changeover performance, and confidence in the setup standard. Pro makes the cost visible on both sides. TMC protects the handoff. This is where a lot of postponement fails. The issue has to have an owner. The owner has to know the assignment. The return point has to be visible. The trigger has to be understood. If Renee captures the issue but never tasks it cleanly, the tool fails in execution. FLS matters when the return window arrives because the improvement has to turn into controlled action. Someone has to fix the cart, align it to the setup sheet, confirm the gauge location, update the shadow board if needed, and verify that the next changeover is cleaner. ALC matters after that because the plant needs to learn. Did the cart issue come back? Did the setup window improve? Did operators trust the standard more? Did the same friction move somewhere else, capture it, improve the next cycle? That is the system view, not a lecture, not a catalog, just the chain. Read the situation, choose the right movement, check the risk, task it cleanly, execute the return, learn from the result. The tool is identify and postpone. The system makes sure the tool does not become a phrase on papers. Now bring it back to your floor and think about the last changeover that drifted because the team found a side issue. It may not have been a tool cart. It may have been a missing cleaning supply, a setup photo that no longer matched the line, a label that confused the operator, a gauge that floated between stations, a wrench that was never returned, a fixture stored in the wrong place, a maintenance note that turned into a debate, or a training gap that everybody suddenly wanted to solve during the active run window. The issue probably mattered. Good. Respect that. But ask the harder question, did it matter more than the objective already under pressure? That is where leaders have to be decisive. Name the current objective first. What are we protecting right now? Line release, first good unit, customer critical production, quality containment, schedule recovery. Do not let the team guess, say it, then name the side issue. Do not leave it floating. The cart is wrong, the gauge location is unclear. The tool storage does not match the setup sheet. The shadow board is outdated. The operator training note needs review. Make it concrete. Then test the timing. If we chase it now, what do we risk? If we ignore it completely, what do we risk? Is it blocking the current objective? Is it creating immediate quality or safety concern? Is it stopping release, or can it be controlled and brought back after the run? Then assign ownership. One person or one role, not the team. The team is not an owner, the air is not an owner, a meeting is not an owner. Put a name or role on it. Then set the return point and trigger, after the run, next setup, improvement window, end of shift review, morning production meeting, maintenance window, and define what brings it forward early. If the same missing item blocks this changeover again, it moves now. If quality cannot verify the release because of it, it moves now. If the issue touches customer critical output, it moves now. That is practical. That is clean. That is usable under pressure. Here's the command line for this episode. Do not let a side fix steal the main effort. That does not mean tolerate sloppy work. It means stop letting frustration choose the sequence. The tool cart problem was real. It still did not deserve to own the changeover unless it blocked the release. There's a difference between a leader who ignores problems and a leader who controls timing. There's a difference between responsiveness and reaction. There is a difference between caring about standards and letting standards clean up hijack production recovery. You need that distinction on the floor. Because a manufacturing team does not only lose time from breakdowns, defects, and shortages, it also loses time from uncontrolled attention. Attention is a resource. Decision bandwidth is a resource. Line focus is a resource. When you spend those resources on the wrong issue at the wrong time, the main effort pays. So the next time a real side issue shows up during a live changeover, do not drift. Do not overtalk it. Do not let the loudest frustration set the priority. Take command of the sequence. The current objective is this. The side issue is this. If we chase it now, we risk this. If we ignore it completely, we risk this. The owner is this. The return point is this. The trigger is this. Then get back to the line. That is direct. That is human. That is practical. That is leadership. The best manufacturing leaders do not ignore the friction operators carry. They also do not let every friction point take the run hostage. They protect the main effort and make sure the side issue comes back when it belongs. The line needs recovery. The issue needs ownership. Both can be true. That is the whole point. Capture the issue, protect the run, bring it back on purpose. When you're ready to go deeper with this tool, go to www.direct-action-system.io/course-directory. Open the course directory, find the course tied to decision execution and problem navigation, and start there. That is where the deeper application belongs. Thanks for listening to the briefing.